Welcome back to our channel, everyone. Today is a beautiful day to dive into the latest, most heart-wrenching drama unfolding in our favorite community. So grab a cup of coffee and let us get right into it. Beyond the Gates, spoilers tease that the ghosts of the past are coming back with a vengeance. And if you ask me, we are about to witness one of the most emotionally devastating and highly anticipated confrontations in the history of the show. We are talking about a moment of pure, unadulterated truth that has been brewing for years, a climax that will leave you completely breathless. It all kicks off with Ted and Nicole and the dark, ugly secrets of a marriage that was shattered by infidelity. But before we get to that earth shattering apology, we have to unpack the incredible buildup that gets us there because the psychological domino effect in these episodes is just absolutely off the charts. It all starts on a surprisingly light note, considering the heavy emotional trauma that is about to drop. Ted is in a bit of a bind and needs a massive favor. He tracks down Carlton and asks him to cover a peer review meeting. Why? Because Ted is finally taking that massive, terrifying leap and going to meet the brothers of his new love, Shanice. Now, guys, if you ask me, this is a huge step for Ted. He is putting himself out there, facing the firing squad of protective siblings, and he needs Carlton to save his professional skin so he can go play the devoted boyfriend. The dynamic between Ted and Carlton right here is just fascinating to watch. These two have had such a messy, complicated history, especially when you factor in their mutual orbit around Nicole. But here they are, bantering like old frat brothers, joking about their love lives and the bizarre twists of fate that brought them to this exact moment. During this banter, Carlton gets surprisingly candid. He actually admits out loud that his past attempt at dating Nicole was, in his own words, completely weird. And honestly, I have to agree with him. We all watched that unfold. And it always felt like trying to fit a square peg into a round hole. Carlton acknowledging the sheer awkwardness of that past romance shows how much he has grown and how much he has moved on. There is no lingering bitterness, no weird alpha male posturing. Instead, they share a genuine laugh about the absurdity of their shared romantic history. They actually shake hands, a real moment of mutual respect, and Carlton wishes Ted good luck with Shanice's brothers. It is a nice, warm moment of camaraderie, but enjoy it while it lasts, guys, because the atmosphere is about to get incredibly heavy. Once Carlton leaves, the energy in the room completely shifts because Andre walks in. Now, Andre is a man who looks like he is carrying the weight of the entire world on his shoulders. He is fidgety, he is anxious, and he immediately starts venting to Ted about Bill. Andre flat out admits that he is trying to avoid Bill as much as humanly possible. And can you blame him? The toxic vortex that is Bill is enough to drive anyone insane, especially given how Bill constantly hovers around Danny. But if you ask me, avoiding Bill is just a convenient excuse for Andre. It is a smokescreen. Andre is not just running from Bill, he is running from himself, from his own lies, and from the suffocating guilt of his secrets. He is hiding his European past. He has the stalker breathing down his neck, and he is keeping that scandalous kiss a secret from Danny. He is a pressure cooker about to explode. And then Andre drops the absolute bomb. He looks at Ted, the one guy in his orbit who has famously blown up his own marriage through infidelity, and he asks a question that is so raw and so difficult, it actually makes you wince. Andre asks Ted point blank how he managed to live with himself after cheating on Nicole for such a long time. Guys, my jaw practically hit the floor. This is not just a casual question. This is Andre desperately searching for a survival guide on how to be a hypocrite. He is drowning in his own guilt, terrified that his secrets will destroy his marriage to Danny, and he wants to know how Ted functioned day in and day out while living a double life. It is a deeply uncomfortable mirror being held up to Ted's past. Ted, to his credit, does not deflect. He actually gives Andre a brutally honest answer. He admits that he survived it by compartmentalizing. He built a wall in his mind, separating his illicit affair from his daily life with his wife. He put the cheating in a little mental box and locked it away so he could look Nicole in the eye over the breakfast table. But Ted also confesses the darker truth. No matter how high you build those mental walls, deep down in your soul, you always know you are betraying the person you promised to love. You know you are a fraud. Ted's voice is heavy with the kind of regret that only comes from years of hindsight. He tells Andre that the guilt never really goes away. It just eats at you from the inside out. It is a chilling, profound breakdown of the psychology of a cheater, and you can see Andre absorbing every terrifying word. But before Andre can even process this dark wisdom, the universe decides to deliver the ultimate dose of dramatic irony. The door opens, and in walks Nicole. The tension in that office instantly spikes to 1,000,000 degrees. Andre, who was just practically begging for a tutorial on how to handle the guilt of betraying your wife, takes one look at Nicole and absolutely panics. He cannot even look her in the eye. The guilt projecting off Andre is so thick you could cut it with a knife. He mumbles an excuse, turns on his heel, and practically sprints out of the room, leaving Ted alone to face the very woman they were just talking about. It is a cowardly exit by Andre, but it perfectly sets the stage for what needs to happen next. Now it is just Ted and Nicole. The air is thick, suffocating, and charged with years of unspoken pain. Ted looks at Nicole, and you can see the exact moment he decides to stop running. He stops compartmentalizing. He looks at the woman he vowed to protect, the woman he shattered, and he finally truly faces the music. Ted begins to apologize, but this is not your standard run-of-the-mill, I am sorry for what I did apology. No, guys, Ted goes straight for the jugular of his own sins. He brings up the darkest, most painful chapter of their marriage. He looks Nicole in the eyes and apologizes specifically for cheating on her while she was going through hormone treatments. If you ask me, this is the most devastating detail he could have possibly brought up. Just stop and think about the absolute cruelty of that reality. While Nicole was injecting herself with hormones, wrecking her body, riding an emotional roller coaster of hope and despair, desperately trying to give them a child and build their family, Ted was out there giving his love, his body, and his loyalty to someone else. It is a level of betrayal that is almost incomprehensible. Ted acknowledges this with unflinching, brutal honesty. He admits that he stole a piece of her love and her loyalty, taking something that rightfully belonged to her and throwing it away when she was at her most vulnerable. Ted does not make a single excuse. He does not blame the stress of the treatments. He does not blame the state of their marriage. And he certainly does not ask for pity. He stands there completely stripped of his ego and tells Nicole that there is absolutely no justification for what he did. He tells her with tears in his eyes, that she deserved so much better than the man he was to her. It is a raw, agonizing, and beautifully tragic confession. It is the apology Nicole has deserved for years, delivered without caveats or conditions. And Nicole's reaction, guys, it is a masterclass in grace. She does not scream, she does not throw things, and she does not throw his past in his face. She absorbs the magnitude of his words, recognizing the genuine, agonizing remorse in his voice. She sees the man she loved, the father of her children, finally taking full, unmitigated accountability for breaking her heart. And in a moment that will absolutely make you reach for the tissues, Nicole steps forward and hugs him. It is not a hug of romantic reconciliation, but a hug of profound forgiveness and closure. It is the closing of a deeply traumatic chapter, a silent acknowledgement that the pain is finally in the past and they can finally just be at peace with one another. It is beautifully written and incredibly moving. But the emotional roller coaster of this episode does not stop there, because the scene shifts to a completely different yet equally poignant kind of family dynamic. We move over to the brownstone, where the vibe is warm, inviting, and filled with the beautiful chaos of chosen family. Nicole arrives carrying a gift, specifically a dorm warming present for Tyrell, who is moving into his new college life. It is such a sweet maternal gesture that shows how deeply intertwined Nicole is with Martin and Smitty's family. She sits down with Martin and Smitty, and the conversation naturally drifts toward the kids growing up and leaving the nest. Martin, always the nostalgic one, starts reminiscing about the past. He laughs as he brings up Kat, remembering how she was always the one getting gifts and attention when she was a little girl. It is a fond, bittersweet memory that highlights how fast time flies. But the mood shifts slightly when Nicole brings up some recent news she heard. She mentions that Jessica has officially dumped Tyrell. It is a harsh blow for the young man just as he is starting this new chapter, and you can feel the collective sympathy in the room. They all know how hard first heartbreaks are, and they feel for Tyrell deeply. This conversation about the kids moving on and facing the real world hits Smitty incredibly hard. Smitty, the tough, relentless investigative journalist who is usually chasing down dangerous criminals and exposing plasma rings, suddenly turns to mush. He gets visibly emotional, his eyes welling up as he talks about the reality of his kids leaving home. He admits that he is just so used to taking care of them, of having them under his roof, that the thought of the house being quiet is breaking his heart. Seeing this vulnerable paternal side of Smitty is just so endearing. It reminds us that beneath the tough exterior, he is a fiercely loving father who is terrified of the empty nest. Nicole, completely understanding this pain, leans in and offers her own vulnerable truth. She confesses to Martin and Smitty that when her own children finally packed up and left the house, she was an absolute wreck. She admits that she cried consistently for weeks. She validates Smitty's feelings, letting him know that the grief of watching your children walk out the door to start their own lives is completely normal and incredibly painful. It is a beautiful moment of shared vulnerability between the three of them, bonding over the universal struggles of parenthood. But Martin and Smitty, being the amazing supportive friends that they are, refuse to let Nicole wallow in the past. They pivot the conversation to her present, specifically to her blossoming romance with Kial. They look at this woman who has endured so much heartbreak, who just had that heavy, closure-filled confrontation with her cheating ex-husband, and they hype her up. They tell Nicole with absolute conviction that she deserves every ounce of happiness she is finding with Kial. They remind her that after all the tears and all the betrayal, it is finally her turn to be prioritized, cherished, and loved the right way. It is the perfect, uplifting note to end on. If you ask me, Nicole is stepping into a brand new era, and I am entirely here for it.